Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video here on Monday, May 16th, about 20 minutes after market close in Jacksonville, Florida, 4:17 p.m. Eastern time right now as I start the video. And today we had some tighter ranges on the indices, which is something we haven't seen a lot of in the last month or so. We've seen the ranges on the indices get very, very big, meaning their ATRs have expanded and the volatility has increased. But today we saw those ranges tighten up a little bit. However, the choppiness still remains. A lot of up down action on an intraday basis, making for some very tough trading, a lot of quick moves up, quick moves down. So we're going to look at that, as well as one sector that continues to show strength. And you might see kind of what I'm talking about there under what just happened. So like I said, choppy day, tighter ranges, oil leads. That is this one sector showing immense relative strength, not just this year, but even over the last couple of days since we kind of saw this recent bottom on the S&P and the NASDAQ. So basically over the last 3 days, we've seen oil continue to show nice relative strength. So we're going to look at those charts of the sector ETFs as well as a couple of the leading stocks in there. But first, let's get to performance here. G6, big laggard today, mainly because of ARKK being exceptionally weak. Not a surprise. It's been a recurring theme this year. But G6 down about 1.5. S&P was green up until the last 30 minutes or so there, finished down 0.4%. QQQ down a little over 1% there. Dow slightly green today, up just fractionally. Mid caps and small caps down about 0.5%. 60/40 down about 0.15 there, and then Grotection up 0.17 today. Thankful to an oil position that we're going to talk about here in just a second. So moving along here, no changes to market state, no changes to trend gauge. I know it's been that way for a while, but nothing has changed to give us any reason to alter these. So market leaders, short-term, medium, and long-term remain down. Market state remains in correction. So very quickly here, I'm going to highlight Revere, mainly my email address. If you have any questions on any particular stock, sector, whatever it may be that I cover in this video, please don't hesitate to send me an email. If you have a question about what Revere does, you can email me, or you can email anybody on the website, Dan, Tim, Don, or Merrill at revereasset.com. So let's get to the tail of the tape here, and we do have the S&P 500 on the right-hand side of your screen here. So market state correction, day 3 off the low. So this would be Thursday, Friday, and then now today. And as you can see, a little bit tighter range. There's a lot of volatility in here and in here, tightening up just a little bit. So day 3 off the low, headwinds remain the same. Sentiment, nothing really super noteworthy taking place today. Put call back around 1. The VIX did come down a little bit today to about the 28 range, down about 4% or so. Fear greed unchanged from Friday to today. So that is still at a 12, still in that extreme fear reading. So we have not been able to get back above 4,200 as noted here. Haven't been able to reclaim those key moving averages. As you can see, those continue to angle downwards. First step, I mentioned this on Thursday and on Friday, getting above this 8 EMA, not quite able to do that on the indices either. So really not doing any of the things that we need yet to have any type of sustainable rally, even if it is just a bear market bounce. News-wise, India bans wheat exports. We did see agricultural names higher in pre-market trading, and as the day went on, holding up pretty well. Watch today, what were we looking for? What would the S&P do against this 3960 support level, and then potentially versus this resistance here at 4050 to 4070. We did not quite go down to that 3960, but we were rejected pretty sharply at that 4050 level. Action-wise, open down 0.4, undercut that overnight low and reclaimed it, which is going to be right around 39.85. Went up to 40.40, pulled back to 39.80, wedged and pushed up to a new high a day right here around 40.46, and then trended down into the close. And we're going to show you what that action looks like here on the S&P. And as you can see, let me pull this back up here with us. A lot of choppiness, as I said, down into the close, up, down, up, and then a nasty close. You go from 40.50 to about just slightly over 4,000 here, closing at 4,008. So these little 1% moves or so, up and down, up and down, up and down on the S&P, and it's even more pronounced on the Qs, continue to play out. And that's not necessarily what you want to see, but we are in a period coming off a lot of extreme volatility. So a lot of shaking out taking place, a lot of battling, especially around such a key level like 4,000. But the choppiness continues. And if you weren't watching the market or looking at intraday charts, you just see, oh, the S&P is down 0.39 today. You'd have no idea that there was all these little up and down moves throughout the day here. So certainly not a smooth ride on an intraday basis. I'm going to pull back up to the daily here on the S&P. And we're going to work through the rest of the tail of the tape here. So the range overnight, 39.85 to 40.45. We opened at 4,008. Open in 30-minute range, 39.84 to 4,019, and we closed on 4,008. So pretty odd that we opened and closed at the exact same number, essentially. Notes-wise, number of straight weeks down, S&P and the NASDAQ 6, Dow 7, and then also we have oils 3 days up. We're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to our portfolio and the sell we made today. So as we mentioned, performance-wise, the S&P essentially opened and closed at the same area, down 0.4%, G6 down 1.5%. 60-40 down 0.15, grow up a little under 0.2. Sector-wise, we said oil strong, fertilizer strong, XME, DBA, shippers, PDBC, that's agricultural / commodity index. SOX was strong until the end of the day. That ended, or not strong, was trying to show some strength along with AMD, but ended up finishing poorly along with the Qs, IGV, ITB, weak out the gate. So portfolio-wise, we reduced our beta slightly today, 0.24 to 0.15. We sold IVV and took a small profit into that 40-50 resistance, just like we anticipated doing up into this ADMA. Took a small gain on IVV up into that 40-50 resistance, which certainly did act as resistance today. We also trimmed Exxon. As we said, oil's 3 days up. We had Exxon up about 10% off the bottom and at the very top of its range. So we took some gains there on Exxon, given where it was trading at, and that also pulled back a little bit towards the end of the day. So a trim on Exxon, sold IVV. Bottom line, tight range, poor close, like I showed you guys there on the intraday, down about 1% from about 3:20, 3:25 Eastern time to the end of the day. Just not what you would want to see. And then choppiness continues. So like pretty much everything we depicted when we looked at the 5-minute. It is a tighter range than what we've been seeing, but still a lot of choppiness on an intraday basis and really a poor close, not what you're looking for if you're a bull there. So moving along here, declining 21 EMA now at 41.53, declining 50-day now at 43.24. Those continue to angle down pretty sharply, as obviously we have made a very sharp move down on the S&P itself. Friday's close 40.24. Continued bounce off that minus 20% level. Today's close, tighter range, but no decisive move up or down. So you can see the S&P briefly got above Friday's high, but not for long. QQQ was not able to do that, but you're not necessarily seeing a sharp breakdown or a decisive move up, kind of just going sideways, digesting before what appears to be the real move is made. So let's go ahead and get into the charts here. We already went through the S&P. You can see battling for this 4,000 level, close slightly above it, but still unable to get above the ADMA. What we're going to be watching here is today's low as well as Friday's low. So Friday's low is 39.60. Today's low is 39.80. Roughly speaking, those are both huge support levels to keep your eyes on. If those are sliced through, not necessarily the most wonderful thing you could ask for there. Conversely, to the upside, you're just going to want to watch these 2 days highs. So basically this 40-50 big resistance level, that's something to watch. And then 4,100, also another big resistance level after that. So 40-50, 4,100 to the upside, 39.60, 39.80 / 39.85 to the downside, what you're going to be watching there on S&P. QQQ, unable to hold on to the 300 level, really not ideal here. Pretty much rejected at the declining 8 EMA, which we talked about last week. First step in making any types of move for a sustainable or tradable rally here. Not able to do that so far today, but again, this is an inside day on the Qs, just ever so slightly there, closing at the bottom of the range. Again, a poor close, not necessarily what you want to see. And you're going to want to watch the same thing. The lows of the last 2 days are important here. And then again, the highs of the last 2 days also important. So roughly 303 to the upside on the Qs, 294 or so to the downside on the Qs. And moving along here, we'll go to the Dow since it was slightly green. DIA, actually poked its head above the 8 pretty significantly today, but not necessarily able to eke out a great close either, trying to get back above this 320 level in the same way that you see the Qs trying to get back above 300, the S&P trying to get back above 4,000, but pretty much in the same boat, really indecisive, not making a big move either way. And again, same thing on all these indices. You're going to want to watch the lows of the last 2 days as well as the highs of the last 2 days. IWM, pretty much the same candle here, unable to close above that 8 EMA for the second time in a row, but just pretty tight range here on IWM, only down about 0.4% here, still not above the 8, just slightly above yesterday's high by 3 cents, but same situation. Watch the lows of these candles from the last 2 days as well as the highs, can just basically just digesting, not really doing anything here. MDY, this is an inside day. So again, same situation, unable to clear that 8 EMA, just really going sideways, not making any type of decisive move one way or the other at this point. So moving along here, let's get to some charts and let's talk about that one sector that's showing nice relative strength, especially over the last couple of days. Like we mentioned, we took some gains on Exxon today. So from this day here, Market Smith will work with me. So a low of 83.40 up to a high of 92 today. That is about a 10% move off the bottom, right at the top of the range, which is where it has been shut down previously. The last 2 times we took some gains on this today, just a very sharp move off the bottom, relatively extended on a short-term basis, like most oil stocks are. They're very similar pattern to what you see here. So took a little bit of gains on Exxon today, an offensive sell. And then I'm going to show you a few other names that are acting well in the oil space. Oxy up about 5.5%, 6% today. Same kind of thing here. A low here on the same day that we just looked at with Exxon. Sorry about that. 57 up to 68. So an $11 move, almost a 20% move for Oxy off the bottom, closer to around 15 to 18%. DVN, another big name that's had a strong move. Same type of thing here. So a lot of these getting relatively extended on a short-term basis doesn't mean they can't keep going. That's why we only sold partial of Exxon. And obviously crude oil has moved up, as we talked about on the podcast last week, through 105, through 110, and is now pressing above 110 in the 113, 114 range. And if you have TOS, that is /CL when I talk about crude oil. So oil stocks acting pretty well. The ETFs also acting pretty well. This is XLE, which is primarily dominated by Chevron and Exxon. Looks very similar to the two of those. And this is XOP, the oil and gas exploration ETF. Not quite as strong, but there is some certain names in this space like Oxy and DVN that I just showed you that are actually looking stronger than the ETF itself. So oil making really nice moves off the low. This is a sector ETF. You can see from 124 up to 136. That's about a 10% move for the sector ETF itself. In that same time frame, the S&P has gone from 385 to 400. So S&P only up about 4% or so off the lows. You got the oil ETFs, oil stocks up around anywhere from 10 to 15% off the lows. And that is reflected here when you look at the RS line. Look how this dipped and then has continued to rocket higher. So we're seeing some continued relative strength from the oil space. We also saw fertilizers act well today. CF, probably the best of the bunch here, above all the major moving averages. MOS trying to repair its chart, trying to get back above its major moving averages. NTR, another name in the space, kind of doing the same thing as MOS, trying to get back above the key moving averages there. Shippers also strong today. ZIM does report earnings here in just a few days, I believe, on Wednesday, but up 4% today. The other popular name in the space, SBLK, up about 4% as well. These are very volatile and messy charts. Keep that in mind. But relative strength up here, pushing towards highs on SBLK. ZIM has made a nice recovery after a harsh sell-off too. LTHM, this one had been showing relative strength, but what we want to point out today is it was making above Friday's high. Not everything out there was above Friday's high today. So that's something to keep in mind. And this one is above those key moving averages. LTHM just reported earnings, had that big move up, one to keep on your radar. Another one that recently reported earnings, CC, this one actually up about 4% today, reported earnings and had the big gap up. Really nice relative strength in action today from CC, another chemicals company. Lithium, also a chemicals company. LNTH, a name we've talked about a good bit, up about 4.5% today. You can see this one has just been on a tear since this really, really nasty candle here where it was down 13%. It's regained all of that and back above those levels. But keep in mind, this did have that really nasty day. And moving along here, just a couple more that were actually green today. OLN slightly green. This chart continues to look pretty good. And then of the big tech names, Microsoft, which was just barely green by the end of the day, looked a lot stronger at about 3:15 Eastern time. And Facebook, these were the two big tech names that were actually green today. Most everything else finished red, particularly names like Tesla, which we're about to look at now. So Tesla, big time laggard today, down a little over 5%, almost 6%, as you can see here, unable to muster really any type of legitimate bounce or rally, just a one green day here, and that's it, at least for the time being. So a lot of these big tech names ended up finishing pretty poorly today. Apple underperforming the S&P here, as you can see, down 1.1%. Nvidia, which was actually green at one point or another, finished down 2.5%. So big tech, the big market cap names continuing to struggle. And I know that's something that I've harped on a good bit with some of those names finally starting to show some elevated volatility and getting below key moving averages, things like that. Datadog and Net continue to be some of the whipping boys of the high growth space, down 11% here on Datadog, Net down about 15 or 14% here. Just extreme volatility on some of these names. And these were really down pretty much all day. Didn't really see any type of rally or bounce as the markets moved higher. They just kind of stayed depressed all day long. Some other names that had a tough day, PanW, looked like it was clearing 500, looked like it was getting above the ADMA, ends up being down 5%. CrowdStrike, just similar story to what you see there with Net and with Datadog, just unable to get anything going, down over 6% today. Fang, one of the few oil names that was down today, had some issues going on with this one. Airbnb, another recent IPO name, kind of like Datadog and Net, that's just, it's very extended to the downside, but just unable to get any positive traction, down 6% today. And lastly, Nucor, also really not acting well today, just from 190 to 120 here. This is just shows you how quickly a trend can change. Doesn't matter if it's commodity, oil, whatever it is, things can change very quickly. So Nucor goes from being up here at 190 to all the way back to the 200-day moving average in a matter of about a month or so, maybe a little over a month. So pretty mixed basket today. Some areas of strength like oils, fertilizers, shippers, and then a lot of areas of weakness that we've continued to see. The high beta growth stuff, some of the big tech stocks struggling today. So I think tomorrow is a very important day, given we kind of had these inside days here on QQQ, IWM, really not showing any type of decisive move. So I think tomorrow is very important. Like I said, watch the lows of today's candle as well as the lows of Friday's candle, and then conversely the highs of today. Very important, I think, tomorrow to see how this plays out. So that wraps up today's video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I'll see you guys on Thursday's video as well as the podcast. So have a great week, everyone.